Okay, tonight I am delighted to say I've got a true blue Finn Harps legend with me. Gerard McGettigan comes from Milford in County Donegal, though he's been exiled now in County Wicklow for a long, long time. Made 343 appearances for Finn Harps, scored 36 goals, and his time at Harps spanned from 1984 up until 1999. Now, he did have 3 years in Limerick, where he played with Newcastle West when he was undergoing his training as a teacher. Gerard, absolutely brilliant to talk to you.
Thanks, Bradley. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on. Good to chat to you.
Not at all. We had to get you at some stage. You joined Harps at a relatively young age of about 16. But you'd actually been training with the team for a year or two before that. How did that all come about for you? You know, how were you sort of enticed into the Finn Harps fold, for want of a better word?
I think it started when Donegal, the very first Milk Cup, I think it was up in Coleraine, and Patsy McGowan would have been involved. I think I was about 14, and Patsy would have been part of the management set up for that with Alex Harkin and Father Pat McHugh and a few others. So went up to that, as I say, played for Donegal and that, and just on the back of that, Patsy invited me in to train with the lads. So going into Templemore then with Con McLaughlin and Sean Boyle and Eddie McGinley and different lads, and even I think Stephen, seeing there today, Stephen McNutt, who's after getting the 19s job at the club. I think Stephen might have been around at that stage, and Paul McNutt, his brother. And so I was in awe at that stage, going in kind of 15, started going into Templemore, and just loved it, really loved it. And it was like having, the lads were like big brothers, they're kind of, not that anybody ever needed to be looking out for me, but you kind of, there was all, I kind of had a feeling that they were kind of looking out for me, at the same time, and traveled with, as I say, with Con and Eddie and Sean Boyle a lot. And yeah, that's kind of just kind of went from there to, pre-season the following couple of years, playing the odd game, getting maybe 5-10 minutes in a friendly match, which was great, because that was the days when the big teams were coming over still.
Yes.
I remember Southampton, in the space of 2 or 3 years, Southampton, Man City, Queen's Park Rangers, like 2 or 3 of the top teams. Yep. And you're meeting fellas like Peter Shilton and legends of the game were coming to Finn Park at that time. And so to get a Celtic, another one, and so to get any kind of, even just to be part of the thing, and if you got a couple of minutes, which I was delighted just to get a couple of minutes coming on if I could, and just kind of went from there, really, just up to, I suppose, when I started college. Played the first year, was still with Harps, my first year in Limerick.
That was the first year in the first division, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think that, it was probably my first proper year, and that was when they introduced the first division. Unfortunately, Harps went down, and was kind of in around the panel again that first year, but I wouldn't say not a regular starter as such. And that, coupled with the fact that I was in Limerick, it was very difficult to make, because that was just, I think, a year or two before floodlight football came in.
Yes.
The clubs got the big grants for floodlights, so every game was Sunday afternoons. So to play a game on a Sunday afternoon and try and get back to Limerick afterwards was an ordeal. And the following year, I just couldn't do it. I just said that I can't keep this up. So I stayed in Limerick then the following few years when I was in college.
Yeah, around that time as well, before you went down to Limerick, in fact, I think you were also involved in the Irish Youth setup under Liam Toohey at the time. What sort of an experience was that? And I mean, obviously you were coming across better players at that level. than you would have said playing in the Donegal League and stuff like that. How did you, find that?
That was a kind of a strange one, because I think there was a mix up at the time. Like, I had attended different trials, in previous years, and that particular year, I think there was a mix up in communication, and I didn't attend any trials, and I think it was a game in the League Cup that Liam Toohey had attended a game. We had played Bohemians, I think, that
Yes.
season in the League Cup. And on the back of that, I got invited into the setup, and I think I played a couple of games. I think we played Iceland, played Northern Ireland. So didn't get too many caps, but it's nice to get the
Still
couple
got
of
them.
caps. Just nice to be involved on a couple of occasions. So you're going up and you're staying. I think, what was the hotel there at just up from Bossaris? We used to stay there, and
the ONeill Street, the North Star.
North
Star Hotel, yeah.
North Star. Used to stay in the North Star, and it was nice to meet some of the other lads. Like Mark Devlin there went on and played for Longford, and Kevin Kelly went on and played for Waterford, and of course the Dolan boys, Pats and Eamon, were part of that setup. And there wasn't too many of us, I suppose. Like most youth teams, like underage teams, it's probably a wee bit different now, but there wasn't too many of us that were still home-based players. A lot of the lads were based across Channel at that stage. I think myself and Kevin Kelly and Mark Devlin, probably only the 2 or 3 of us that weren't already, went across water at that stage. So it was enjoyable. But short-lived.
Did you ever see yourself going across Channel at any stage? Would that have been an aim of yours, or had you got the career path kind of mapped out when you were younger, that you were going to do teaching and see where that took you, rather than try and pursue a career in soccer?
No, I never really had it as a I'm not saying, like, I remember after the Milk Cup, Patsy coming to talk to my parents and myself, and it was he was a Spurs scout at the time.
Yeah.
And he came, and I remember, as I said, I was telling you, my memory wouldn't be great on a lot of things, but I do remember the conversation that he had, and it was just around how difficult it is, that lots of young fellas go across water, but that they, for every, I think the way Patsy said it was like, for every 100 kids that go across, maybe one might make it. So kind of from the back of that, I just said, no, this is not something that I'm going to be looking to do. Like, Patsy's angle was stay. He always, another thing he said was, like, if you're good enough, you'll always go when you're a little bit older. If you're good enough, wait and go when you're older. And I think that's probably good advice for any young fella, is, get your education. So talked about that. At that stage, I already kind of, in my head, I wanted to be a PE teacher. A lot of young fellas, I suppose, are not sure what they want to do when they get older. And that was the only thing that I had in my head, is I want to be a PE teacher when I get older. And if that hadn't worked out, I don't know what I'd end up doing. But I kind of knew at that stage even that that's what I wanted to do. And I kind of said, no, I'll kind of stay put. And if things happen further down the line, fair enough. So to be honest, it's cutthroat. It wasn't something that I kind of ever thought, or even look back at and think, what if, because I know it's such a difficult thing going across. First of all, getting any kind of a contract going over, and secondly, being able to stick the course and making it over there. So I've no regrets on that front.
Sure. Yeah, no, I just wonder, because I mean, a lot of people would say that, particularly, as a younger person, that they wanted to be a professional footballer, and they would have had the attributes and whatever else, maybe gone over and come back, and I mean, I just wondered then, as you were mentioning, the cross channel players, was it something that you considered yourself? But no, that's fair enough. you went to Limerick, and Dave Mahidi was down there. He's a very highly respected
Yeah,
man in the coaching sphere. Was involved with Limerick United, the great Limerick side of the early
yeah.
'80s, and that. You must have had a good time learning from him.
So like obviously when I went into second year, like Dave would have been involved in coaching different teams, in the college, and I was lucky enough. I had Dave from kind of, I think it was nearly every year. I think the 4 years there, like I never seen anybody, and I in all my time, with different managers, I've never seen anybody to give a speech, a pre-match speech, and get people ready to break walls the way Dave Mahidi did. So I remember going to Collingwood in first year with up in, I think it was up in Belfast, and uh, just the hairs in the back of your neck would be standing just listening to this man talk, and obviously very knowledgeable, about the game and everything else too, but just really good. And second year then when when I kind of hadn't rejoined Harps, and that first maybe month or two, I wasn't playing any football. I'd gone back to Limerick, and so I was just playing college football and wasn't playing outside of that. And it was Dave actually said to me, he says, "Listen, I can organise for you to either go out to Newcastle West or go into Limerick." And I think Limerick at that stage might have been in the Premier. Newcastle
Probably
West,
were, yeah, at that
yeah.
stage, yeah.
So the way he put it was, you go to Limerick, you might not be getting your game. Whereas if you go out to Newcastle West, you're going to be pretty much guaranteed a game. So I opted to go out to Newcastle West just to be playing. But it was thanks to Dave at that stage that he sorted that all out for me and got me hooked up to go out there, which was great. I had 2.5 great years with them. So yeah, thanks to him for that. But yeah, no, Dave was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave and another Dave
Was
Waldrick. There's a few different fellas.
yeah, yeah. Was the late Pádraig Gallagher playing at Newcastle West at that stage?
Pádraig would have been fourth year in college when I went in
Right,
first year.
right.
So yeah, I had great time for Pádraig. Pádraig, we played at Newcastle West together for a short spell. Pádraig obviously went to like he finished in Limerick obviously after that my first year. He was gone out. Shortly after that he went to America. But like I did summer camps for a couple of years with Pádraig. He ran summer camps in South Donegal, and I would have stayed with Pádraig's folks the first year, and would have met the brothers Dermot and Matt, and lovely family. But yeah, lot of time for Pádraig, and yeah, I was gutted obviously when he passed away.
I can imagine, especially when it was so sudden.
Yeah.
And then around summer of 1989, you finished college in Limerick, and you are given an opportunity to go into teaching, and you head for Wicklow. How did that come about?
Well, it was kind of late enough in the summer. That particular summer, I'd worked. I'd deliberately taken a job working in with a few other college friends. We decided to base ourselves in Dublin for the summer, so that would be kind of central to different job interviews and getting places. So like we had a great summer, but not too many job offers were coming up. But it was actually very late. I think it was a week or two before schools were due to open. And I remember I did 2 interviews that week. I did an interview for a job in Athlone, in the foyer of the Gresham, and the principal came up and we had a pint. and he pretty much said, "I'm offering you so many hours a week." I think it was 18 hours a week or whatever. And I did the job, the interview for the job in Wicklow 2 days later. I got the train down to Wicklow, did the interview there. It was a little bit more serious. But yeah, I liked Wicklow. When I got down off the train, I had an hour and a half to kill. I walked in through the town is one of those places straight away. I kind of thought, geez, this is a nice, there's a nice vibe about it. It's not not a huge, not a big town,
Yeah.
But at the same time, very accessible to Dublin, and just had a nice feel about it, So, and at that stage, obviously, I knew Derek Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Derek
was only up the road in Bray.
Derek, who had been so good to me and all through my time at Harps, but in that first, when I was in Limerick in that first year, when I was, trying to get back to Limerick after matches, and I remember Derek would drive me to Dublin, and you'd be rushing to get the train to Limerick then, and so that was the main factor in it. As like when I had the choice, it's either Athlone or Wicklow. The main factor was Derek, because I reckoned, like, I wasn't driving, so I reckoned if Derek was based in Bray, I was only down the road in Wicklow, so I decided to take the job in Wicklow, and I knew it was a new school at that. The school was only just open a couple of years, and I knew that if I played my cards right, there was a good chance that it would become a permanent job, which it did. I was made permanent before the end of the first year.
Sure.
So like that was part of it. But the main of just, getting lifts back up and down, and as I say, being friendly with Derek at that stage too.
Yeah. And would, at that stage, I mean, obviously, yes, you did come back to Harps in the summer of '89 as well. Would you have had offers from other clubs, or would you consider playing for anybody else? Now I know, obviously you're a Donegal man and whatever else, but like, you were starting a new job in a new county and whatever else, and I mean, like, the proximity, as you say, to Dublin. Bray Wanderers were only up the road. Waterford wouldn't be a huge stretch of the imagination from Wicklow. I mean, did it ever cross your mind to try and join somebody else rather than Harps?
No. At that stage, I suppose, if it was ever going to happen, that would have been the time to make a move. Maybe just coming out of college, and like Newcastle West knew I wasn't staying there. Like, I had 2.5 years with them, which I really enjoyed and learned so much, and some fantastic people down there. But like, I knew I wasn't going to be probably based anywhere close to Limerick, so I was going to be moving on. And the only other club at the time that made a direct approach was Drogheda.
Right.
And I think at the time it was a choice, either rejoin Harps or go to Drogheda. And as I say, I just, it wasn't something I even had to think about too much. Like, I said I'd go for Harps. And after that, as I say, over the years, there was no, I suppose, there's no desire on my part. I was content to play with Harps. It was my home club. I certainly wasn't getting direct approaches from other clubs. Bray, you mentioned Bray. There was always rumours that Bray wants you and this, that, the other. But in terms of direct approaches, I certainly wasn't getting direct approaches to join or whatever. And I'm not sure, even if I did, I'm not sure if I would have. I was quite happy.
You obviously were sending off the vibes that you were happy at Harps, and you were and that was it, really. You re-signed for Chris Rutherford, and then very quickly Chris resigned midway through that season. I think Chris had 2.5 years, and realized the promotion was gone again for that season. But Alex Harkin came in, obviously somebody that you already knew. And we're obviously dealing with, because he was involved on the committee side of Harps. And then John ONeill came in after Chris Rutherford. How did you find the change from Chris to John ONeill? Was there much change? I mean, obviously playing personnel would have changed pretty quickly as well.
I can't remember a huge amount from Chris, like obviously coming in, and like, he was just back, I think, from his career was cut short, and he came back in and was very, very progressive. And in terms of the technical stuff, I would say of any of the managers I played under at Harps, the technical stuff was he was doing stuff that I'd never come across, like shadow play and setting players out and in a formation and going through the balls here, what do you do and where do you go, like that was all very new and to all of us, I think, at the time, and at kind of looking at each other going, is this is a bit daft, like we're there's no opposition here and we're walking through what we do in certain situations, but there's no opposition. But when it came to matches, then it was, you kind of knew the purpose of it. Everything was clicking into place because you were automatically doing things then in matches based on what you were going through in training. So John was, as I say, very, very progressive. Enjoyed my time now playing under him.
Yeah, and then obviously, John didn't manage to get what was becoming a bit like the Holy Grail, we should say, of promotion.
Yeah.
So Patsy returned in 1992. So that must have been a good boost for you. That Patsy was obviously somebody who believed in you, had spotted you at an early age, and here he was coming back to try and raise the ship.
Yeah. No, I've said it before. That like of all the managers, like Patsy is the best manager I played for and played under. It's thanks to Patsy that I got, was brought into the club in the first place, and as a young player, the guidance and encouragement I got was fantastic, and just the different spells then that Patsy had at the club, like there's nobody was working harder, behind the scenes doing stuff that he way above and beyond the call of duty as such. And as I say, delighted when he came back and got back involved. And I mean, I suppose we struggled there. We struggled, for the couple of years, but I think it was around maybe mid-90s, is it 96? We eventually.
Yeah, no, eventually we did. But I mean, obviously, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was the playoff games. I remember we played Athlone last game of the season, and it was a real nip and tuck affair in Finn Park, and you scored what turned out to be the winner in that game. But that meant that we qualified for the playoffs against Clove Ramblers, and obviously Ramblers were coming down as the Premier Division side. And again, the name of Gerard McGettigan appeared on the score sheet in the first leg of the playoff. But obviously, we went down to Cove then and were soundly beaten. Was that the first time you'd ever flown to a match?
I did. Well, I wasn't part of the flying crowd. No, the Donegal lads got their flights. I was going from Wicklow, so no, I was with Derek. So that's the biggest disappointment in all my playing days was that the second game in Cove. It's never taken me as long to get over a defeat like that. That really, really hit me hard. I think we, knowing that we've been trying for the few years previously, and your whole season is based around then these couple of games, and what it was, 2 playoff games, a whole season is based on them. And like we were poor in Cove in the second leg, there's no doubt about it. We didn't perform. And it took me a long time now, like more so than even than the following year. And we suffered the same disappointment the following year, but the Cove one really, really hit me hard. Now it was tough to take.
I think that season 93, 94 it was. We had such a big impetus built up that we hadn't started the season particularly well. But as the season went on, we seemed to get better and better. And I remember Sligo won their treble that year. They won the FAI Cup under Willie McStay and the First Division and the First Division Shield. And they came to Ballbuffet and we beat them 2-0. And it was a fantastic night in Ballbuffet, huge crowd and whatever else. And I think at that stage, the fans certainly believed that we were in with a good shout of promotion, that, yeah, we would have to do it through the back door of the playoffs. But as you say, that defeat in Cove, I think it was pretty crushing for everybody connected with the club,
Yeah,
not just the players.
yeah. No, it was tough to take, as I say, because you're every year, like you're going into it. There's always a sense of optimism every year going into that. That's I'm sure the supporters were like that, the players were like that. Harps are a big club. We've there's always a feeling that you deserve to be in the Premier Division, and it just wasn't happening. And then when you get to the playoff, you're thinking this is our time. And when it didn't work out, as I say, it was tough to take.
Devastating, yeah. And as you say, I mean, you touched briefly on the Athlone game. Then, the following season,
Mm,
I think
mm.
we kind of carried our form from one year into the other, but we just weren't good enough in '95 to win the league. And if truth be told, I think over the two games against Athlone, it would be fair to say that we were the better side. We just couldn't take our chances.
Yeah. But it's always games like that. They're always going to be close, and you just I can't remember a huge amount about the two games. Obviously, that remember.
Sorry, I just missed you there. I don't know what happened, whether it's your internet or my internet, but you went into that twilight zone. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's fine. And then the following year, obviously, we actually did win promotion. I mean, that must have been a fantastic
Yeah.
feeling, particularly like you'd striven for so long at the club. I don't know what that stage would you have been the longest serving player, maybe. But finally we get it right. We don't have to go through the
Yeah.
playoffs. We just go straight up. That must have been a
Yeah.
fantastic feeling.
Yeah. No, that's it was like just a sense of relief, like, and that when the whistle goes that evening, I think it was Waterford we beat,
It was, yeah.
which pretty much sealed promotion, and just the sense of relief, just to finally have got up, and to know for myself, you're batting on the or knocking on the door for the previous number of years, and as I say, you want to be playing the Premier Division, and like to finally achieve that, it was brilliant. It was brilliant feeling. Now I remember
Yeah.
I remember just after the game, just as I say, just pure relief, and then the crack that night, just going out and celebrating it, and yeah, I mean, great night now, great night
It was
now.
it was a pretty good season for you on a personal basis. You got into the National League side that went to Kidderminster, I think. Did you play the
Yeah, I think so.
English
Yeah,
semi-pros there? And then also at the very end of the season, you were named in the First Division Team of the Year. I know personal accolades in a team game, you don't win it on your own, but it must have been nice for you personally to be recognised as one of the top players in the First Division from that season.
yeah. No, it was, yeah. It's obviously nice to get individual recognition, but I mean, at the end of the day, it was that wasn't the be all and the end all. The important thing was getting promoting and being able to showcase then in the Premier Division on a bigger stage against the best players in the country, and that was the main thing. It was nice to go across with the I think it was a First Division team that went across to Kidderminster, and
Yeah,
myself and Speaky were part of that. You know, went over there, and it was nice to play over there for in that game. And as I say, then at the end of the year, it was nice to get the recognition with the league select. Bearing in mind, it was, that's picked by fellow players.
yes.
Yeah, but yeah. No, the main thing was just getting promoted.
Yeah. And we had a bit of a topsy-turvy season that season because obviously Patsy was in charge at the start and he got sacked in December. Charlie McGeever came in and we thought, Charlie's going to be a manager to the end of the season. They weren't going to rush into an appointment. But then all of a sudden, Dermot Keely got appointed in March of that year. And obviously, Dermot did get the team up. And I know he did say afterwards, that it was Patsy's team, that he was claiming credit for somebody else's team. I mean, did that ever affect you as a player, all the sort of the managerial changes, or did you just sort of say, oh no, I've just got to get on with this and do my job?
Yeah, no, I suppose like I've been based in away, in Wicklow. You're not like I wasn't hearing as much maybe as if you're local and you're training and you're hearing what's going on. Like I was oblivious to a lot of maybe what was going on. And I like obviously when Patsy left, you kind of there was a bit of turmoil around that, but you kind of knuckle down, I suppose. And I know Paul Hegarty, Paul kind of ended up leaving at that time.
Yeah.
Over that, and there was a little bit of turmoil around that, but you kind of just I suppose knuckle down. Charlie came back in, steadied the ship. He made a lot of phone calls, I'm sure, to different players to say, we need to try and steady the ship here, and got everybody back on board. Then it looks like Dermot is coming in more so for the following season, rather than that particular year. When he's around the scene at the end of that, those last couple of games, but he's not fully involved as such. It's more with an eye to the following year, and there's going to be, he'll have his own ideas, and there's going to be big changes that didn't work out that way in the end up. But
yeah, there was more turmoil at the end of that as well.
Yeah. But I mean, you just, I suppose, as a player, like at that stage, I certainly didn't get involved too much in the politics of what was going on. You're playing, you just get on with it.
And we had a fantastic start to our debut season in the Premier Division, where we got off to a bit of a flyer. And I think, one of the best performances was possibly the away game against Shelburne in Talca Park, in October, when we beat them 2-1. I thought that night that you were probably running the show. Like I see you kind of looking
so
at
my
me.
memory's not good. I wish I could remember partly, but I can't.
No, I tell you then, I mean, in the sense, did you find it much of a step up from the first division to the Premier Division,
In general, no. But like there was games that that were kind of tougher than others. And I remember, I think around about that time, St. Pat's seemed to be a team that, I don't know, personally, that I thought like that this is a step up. Anytime we're playing Pats, the players they had, they were tough. They had everything about them. Shelburne, I'm not sure, was it around that time or maybe a year or two later, like the likes of Tony Sheridan, I think, was playing. Like he was hard to stop. Like he had tremendous talent, definitely good enough to have played across channel for longer. But no, I think if anything, we were really well organized. We spent a lot of time. There was a lot of attention paid to being organized, set pieces and everything else. Like there was a lot of work spent. We had a lot of good players. The club backed, Charlie had a lot of backing to bring in players. There was, you had competition for places now. A lot of big signings come into the club. So I don't think we ever felt, kind of inferior in any way. We probably didn't think we're going to be, in the hunt for league honours as such, but I think we knew that on our day we give any team a game, and certainly no feelings of being inferior.
Yeah, and I think the following season, I mean, we got to the cup semi-final against Shelburne, and I think what you're saying is borne out in that slowly but surely the team was getting gradually better and better. Obviously, personnel was little tweaks and whatever in personnel. That Shelburne Cup semi-final is one of the most surreal matches I've ever been involved in. I can't imagine what it could have been like. Like, you know, there's a bomb scare. We're all herded out of the ground. You guys are put into the Stella Maris pitch across the
Mm.
road, and like it's everybody's looking around as if to say, "What do we do now?"
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the next thing we're told the game's on again.
Yeah, it was mad because you were shepherded initially just from just inside the main stand or that stand to
Yeah.
out on the road on the other side of the stand. So if there was a bomb there, you were getting it one way or the other. And like it was like as you say, it was surreal because it was players out and we were just like you were just mingling amongst supporters and chatting and going, what's going on here? Like, and you know, after what seemed like a while, like we were taken up to the pitch, away from the crowd, but like it seemed like for ages that you were just standing outside mingling and having a
Yeah.
chat. Like I met people that had come up from Wicklow to watch the game and I was chatting to them, you know, and um, yeah, I think we probably there was still a feeling that this is that this game it'll still recommence, like it'll start up again. That this, you know, I don't think
No,
anybody was really taking it too seriously. But
yeah, I mean, I remember like we were obviously ushered out, and obviously with the kind of the experience in Donegal that you would have of bomb scares in Derry or Oma or
mm,
you know wherever it may have been, if you were out shopping on a Saturday or something, like it was they cleared the area. They got everybody as far away as possible. And I mean, as you say, we were all just sort of taken slightly outside rather than, you know, pushed us all away from the ground.
yeah, yeah,
And then, of course, you know, we got word, oh, everybody can go back in again. And it's like, what? Why did you take us out in the first place? And there is a school of thought that it was somebody from Shelburne because we were well on top early on in that
yeah,
game.
yeah,
And there
yeah,
was a school of thought that somebody from Shelburne rang it in to disrupt us.
yeah.
Now, I obviously can't prove that, and I'm only saying it as conjecture. Um,
Conspiracy theorists.
yeah, but when we came back out onto the pitch, I mean, it was the opposite way. Shelburne then got the momentum,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
again, the strangest penalty goal I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that's baffles me how like a referee can allow that,
Well,
like to this keeper. Like it was Jody Byrne
Jody Byrne,
was it
yeah,
Jody
Jody
Byrne was
Byrne
playing?
was the keeper. He was massively
Yeah, was playing the
experienced
goals
keeper.
and just but he's clearly not anyway ready. You know, he's at the post with his towel, wiping his face or whatever he's doing, and for the referee to allow the guy to step up and take a penalty when he stood at the post wiping his face with a towel just completely baffles me, you know. To this
Well,
day,
again, I mean, we all sit there and we shake our heads when we mention it because,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
no,
even
no,
to us on the terraces or in the stand, you know, I mean, it was just, what's going on here?
yeah,
You know, you
yeah,
can't
no,
give
it's
that.
crazy,
I
yeah,
mean, I don't
yeah,
blame Stephen Gagan was the guy who was taking the penalty, and I certainly don't blame Stephen because had it been, you know, roles reversed since Johnny Speak was taking the penalty or you were taking the penalty, you would have
yeah.
taken the opportunity
Well,
because he's
he's going by the
professional.
ref. He's going by the whistle. The referee whistled, but the referee clearly didn't look at the goalkeeper, which I'm sure he's supposed to do that. Like at the start of the game, you normally get a referee checking with both goalkeepers. Are
Yeah,
you ready?
yeah.
Uh, like so, he clearly didn't check that the goalkeeper was ready. Blew the whistle, and as you say, Gagan is entitled to step up and take the penalty, but. And then it's just stubbornness on the referee's part. I think at that stage, then he doesn't want to consult even with the linesman in terms of, well, hold on, I think you got this one wrong. He's digging his heels in and saying, no, goal stands. That's it. There was no arguing, no arguing with him.
Do you remember the referee's name?
No, go on.
Dick O'Hanlon from Waterford. It's etched
Big
in my
on,
memory.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't remember referees, I'll be honest with you. Um, the following season was a rather good one for Finn Harps, but not so good for you personally. I mean, obviously, we went off on a fairly decent run, ended up fourth in the league, 98, 99, and we also got to the FEI Cup final of that year. But
Mm,
you found it very hard. You got injured very early on in the season, and you found it
yeah,
very hard to break back into the team then.
yeah. I got injured kind of before the season started, so it was a hamstring injury, and I missed. I think I missed the first, and like I'd had a really good year the previous year, so
Yep.
I'm not blaming anybody, but there kind of was a bit of pressure to get back, and probably a bit of pressure from myself as well, and you know, I think I missed the first 4 or 5 games, and came back. I think it was Bowes. We played Bowes, and to be honest, I wasn't really ready to come back, and I think I lasted 10 minutes in the Bowes game and did my hamstring again. I just wasn't ready to come back, to be honest. So all told, that, you know, before I fully recovered the second time, I'd say that's 12 to 15 games maybe
Yeah.
of the season are gone. And as I said to you earlier there, we had a very strong panel at the time. There's a lot of competition for places. So, you know, particularly in my position, I think we had Paddy McGranahan, you know, was doing really well. We had Eamon Kavanagh, I think, was in there as well. So particularly Eamon and Paddy were kind of, I felt I was vying for a position against them. And it was tough. Like they're 2 really good players, so it was tough. My knee was kind of starting to play up on me as well that season. So I had to start wearing a knee brace, which subsequently I had an operation just the following year. But just as I say, just couldn't really get a run of form going. I think anybody say you kind of need matches maybe to get your confidence back, you feel like you're going again. I didn't seem to ever really get a run of games to get my confidence back. You know, you're coming on 20 minutes, maybe half an hour here and there. So as I say, yeah, disappointing season, because that was the first year, bar the very early stages at Harps, where I kind of, any minute I was getting on the pitch, I was delighted with nearly at those early years. But it was disappointing, having gone through probably a period of always playing and, you know, being pretty much an ever present in the team, and having such a good year the previous year, like the previous year, I think I'd not been, you know, I'd say myself now, I felt I had a really, really good season the previous year and wanted to kick on from that. So just circumstances, as I say, the injuries didn't help. You're up against 2 really good, as I say, Eamon and Paddy. I felt I was battling to get for that position, and you know, just didn't really get back in. And as I say, different circumstances. I felt that at that stage then that maybe it's time to pack it in at that stage then, you know, different things, family life and everything else.
But you would have been a fairly young man at that stage compared to, you know, some players going on into their middle 30s and whatever else. Maybe, you know, again, with yourself, it was the traveling that was doing it as well, that, you know, you were gone most weekends for the whole weekend.
It was different circumstances. I do that, like, I don't really have any regrets, but like there'd be a small regret that, you know, I think I was around 32ish, which is, you know, you still, if you knuckle down, look after yourself, you can still play for another few years beyond that. But as I say, the fact that it was a disappointing year, personally, the fact that I was doing the traveling, I had a young family. Like the week of the cup final that weekend, we just had our third child. So I now had three children under 5. So going away at the weekends, you know, like my wife is from Donegal. So in the early days and the courtship stages, like, you know, I was going back to see her play the matches. There's a bonus. So, but once she moved to Wicklow, and as I say, kids came along, it was getting harder to pack up and go at the weekends. And as I say, the knee as well, the fact that my knee was really starting to play up and required surgery. It was just kind of, and I don't have any huge regrets. Like, I did go on, I played a little bit afterwards at, you know, Leinster Senior League and then Wicklow League, but yeah, no, there's only a small bit of regret there that maybe you could have just gone on another year or two, but had circumstances been a little bit different.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And you were duly awarded a testimonial. The following year, actually, was it 2000? The testimonial was played. It was.
Yeah, maybe 2000 or two. I'm not sure, Bartley. You're
No,
you're the
yeah, I
stats
know, I
man.
know.
2000 or
And
2001.
I really should have looked it up before
Yeah.
I came on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It seemed like it might have been a wee, but it could well have been like, I'm not sure how long after it. I know it was initially, the game was initially supposed to happen, and I think
That's
it
right.
was set up for Derry, and the
Yeah,
chairman of Derry unfortunately passed away in I think in a car crash
yeah,
close to the
he did
original
indeed. Yeah,
time of the game, and it was refixed then afterwards, which I think kind of was difficult to get it to get a date afterwards, because obviously both teams were back into league action. But
but
yeah, no, it
it
was
still
nice,
must have been
nice.
a nice honor to get it
Ah,
anyway. You know, I mean,
absolutely, yeah. No, absolutely. It was fantastic honor. As I say, it's only, I suppose, when you get a bit older and you look back, especially you kind of look back and you kind of appreciate the time you had, and the privilege of playing for so long, and just the things that people did around the club, and the likes of yourself and different people, you kind of have a better understanding of just what the club means to people.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I don't think I would have had that in my playing days as much as when you look back now, and you're a bit older and a bit wiser, and you look back and you kind of, there's more of a sense of what the club really means to that hardcore group
yeah,
of real Harps fans. Because like there's a lot of fans that obviously, when Harps are doing well, the crowd gets bolstered, and those were great nights going up and playing in front of a few 2,000 or 3,000. Like,
yeah,
it seemed like, when we, even in the first division, when we were doing well, like it seemed, going up on a Saturday night or whatever and playing in front of 2,000 or 3,000 was fantastic. But again, there's that real hardcore of Harps fans that and I don't want to name names. I know a few of them, and I wouldn't
sure,
want to
sure.
singling people out.
And you leave
And
somebody
then
out, and then
and you leave people out, and then likewise the committee people, like Derek Wilkinson, that was there before I joined, and is still involved in the club. So yeah, no, fantastic
yeah.
club, man.
Who would you say was the best player you played with while you were at Harps?
Yeah, no, I was asked this recently, and it's Johnny Speak.
Yeah,
Johnny, without a shadow of a doubt, like Johnny was, like, I would have liked to have, been based in Wicklow. You kind of don't see, people talk about training, and you see more of a fella and what he's really like in training drills and matches and things. And obviously I only ever got to do that, maybe pre-season, if I was in
yeah,
Donegal, or maybe school holidays and you'd be in Donegal for a week or two. You got to train with the rest of the lads. Most of the time I was in Wicklow, not getting to train with them. But it just, as I say, obviously it goes without saying in the matches what he did in matches, but seeing the stuff he could do in training, and particularly in things like shooting drills, like he just made it look so easy. Like it's funny with before Johnny joined the club at all. Like, I have an uncle that lives in Dundalk and be a big
yeah,
Dundalk supporter, and I remember shortly after Speaky joined Dundalk, I remember my uncle coming home coming down to visit one weekend in Donegal, and chatting about this young lad Johnny Speak that had joined Dundalk, and he's something else. And if, as I say, a few years later, when Speaky joins Harps, and you're kind of going straight away, this is big, this is exciting.
quality
So
player.
yeah, quality, absolutely quality.
I think the biggest tribute we can pay him is we've been knocking on the door for promotion for a number of years. And he
Yeah,
joined in that year that we actually got promotion. I think Speaky scored 18 goals that year. And
yeah,
that would have been the difference,
yeah,
going up automatically as to heading to
yeah.
the playoffs again or whatever.
Yeah, no, he's just a natural goal scorer, as I say, especially when you've seen him doing in shooting drills, like just he just made it look so easy. So if you knew that in a game, if he gets a chance, more often than not, he's taking it.
Yeah.
And for a small man, so good in the air too, like so good in the air, like
yeah, he's some
two
way of
good feet.
hanging in the air.
Yeah.
I always used to love see him with his hold-up player, because if he was getting the ball with his back to goal, he could hold it up long enough to bring somebody else into the game. You know, he was
so strong.
Super player. Who would you consider being your hardest opponent or the most difficult opponent you ever faced?
Like I think in the early days, in the early years, like Derry, obviously when Derry came back in, and Derry were so strong, and they played those first couple of years in the first division.
Yeah.
And they had the likes of DeGama and Christich and fellas like that there, like they were head and shoulders above anything else that was knocking about. And because I suppose he was a direct opponent. I remember Kevin Mahan at Derry being a really, really tough opponent, because he's so, you know, he was so strong. He was obviously more experienced than me at that stage. I was still very raw and very young. But yeah, no, I just remember it being so difficult to put up against him because of his strength and pace and experience and everything else. So that later years, I mentioned Tony Sheridan. Tony Sheridan, I remember, like we just couldn't, like he was the one player at Shelburne that you couldn't really, when he was on form, you just couldn't get near him. He was a super talent. Yeah, different lads like that there, but I think the two of them kind of stand out a bit.
No problem. John Gerard, I'm going to let you go now. I think we've managed to hash enough of your memories out of you. And never mind your memory. Your memory's nothing wrong with it now. Thanks a million, John Gerard. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bartley. Pleasure. Thank you.